If you're a doctor, which I'm going to assume you are since you clicked on this video, let me ask you an important question. Do you feel at peace? Are you satisfied? Or do you believe that if you just push through training, finish residency or junior doctor, or earn more or reach that next career milestone, you'll finally feel settled and at peace again? The reason I'm asking you this is because what I see repeatedly, especially in high-performing doctors, is that the external success keeps increasing, the goalposts keep moving, while the internal experience of stress, the feeling you experience in life from within you, quietly deteriorates as you progress. Doctors usually become more competent, more respected, and more capable professionally, yet simultaneously feel more disconnected from themselves outside of medicine. Well, but why should you listen to me, right? My name is Dr. Thomas Webb. I'm a medical doctor myself, medical registrar in Australia with over 6 years of experience working in hospitals. Also work in longevity and have worked as a sports doctor for a season and getting a sports medicine IOC diploma as well. So I understand high performance, I understand longevity, and I understand burnout from a personal experience. So personally, I've experienced this in my own life. So despite being in medicine and understanding health and performance deeply, I've had a period where my own internal state was completely unstable. And as recently as 2 years ago, I was living in a van after what I can honestly describe as a quarter-life crisis, where my dopamine system was fried, my thinking was chaotic, and I'd completely lost any sense of rhythm or control of how I was operating. What changed in my life was realizing that the issue was not a complete lack of ambition. It was in fact that I built my entire identity, existence around performance without building systems that allowed my nervous system, identity, and recovery to remain stable underneath that performance. And I see this same thing happening in a lot of doctors as well. So medicine gradually consumes the structures that previously made you feel like yourself, that give you another sense of identity. The routines that once gave you physical momentum became inconsistent. Recovery becomes something reactive rather than intentional. And I see a lot of doctors caught in this push hard cycle. You know, maybe you've got a lot of shifts in a row, nights, weekends, and then this crash, recovery, reactive response, and the cycle just repeats itself. So slowly, these other things in your life get deprioritized because you're putting work, you're putting patients ahead of you, you're putting the identity of being a doctor ahead of all of that. So the dangerous part of this is because medicine is meaningful work, you can tolerate this for a very long time without questioning it. You can justify this. It can appear, fulfilling. It can appear essential from the outside. You convince yourself this is just growing up. This is just adulthood. This is just responsibility getting more and more and part of life. But this is what sacrifice feels like. But eventually something starts to feel off. You finish work and instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel emotionally flat. You get to the point of just complete burnout. And you're starting to lose that meaning, that enjoyment in being a doctor, in turning up to work. So you have days off, but you still feel mentally on. You find it hard to switch off. You stop looking forward to things outside of medicine because your nervous system has adapted to functioning almost exclusively inside stress and responsibility. People like you and me, what we interpret as laziness or lack of discipline is often the result of a nervous system that has been under chronic stress for too long. And when your sleep is not ideal, inconsistent, your recovery is poor, and your brain is constantly switching between high pressure situations, and your energy, focus, and motivation naturally start to become less stable, less reliable. So in many cases, the issue is not weakness or lack of ambition, but a system that has gradually become overloaded and dysregulated. Because your brain and body adapt to the environment that repeatedly it experiences, it becomes conditioned to this. In most of your waking life, if most of your waking life is spent in high alert cognitive states, your baseline physiology changes around that. Over time, lower stimulation activities stop feeling rewarding, your ability to feel present decreases, and your sense of identity narrows into this very narrow identity of being a doctor around your work, because work becomes the dominant source of stimulation, structure, meaning, fulfillment. And that narrowing is one of the hidden reasons so many doctors feel empty despite objectively from the outside progressing in their career and succeeding. Because psychologically, human beings need multiple domains of identity. You need things that make you feel physically capable, socially connected, mentally grounded, and personally autonomous outside of your profession. Without that, your entire emotional stability becomes dependent on work going well and being respected in your field. And medicine is far too demanding and too unpredictable for that to be the only sustainable way in the long term. This is why I believe the solution is not simply to work less. Most doctors do not actually want to stop being ambitious. They do not want to stop working hard. That is ingrained in them. They want to feel regulated again. They want energy outside of shifts. They want to enjoy training again and progressing in the gym, running, being healthier and fitter. They want to think clearly again. They want to feel physically strong and mentally calm all at the same time. And honestly, there's no reason you can't have all of this while progressing and while being a better doctor at the same time. And the reason most people fail to solve this is because they lack the problem psychologically instead of physiologically and structurally. They think they need more motivation, more discipline, more willpower. But when your nervous system is dysregulated and your environment lacks recovery structures, discipline alone eventually collapses. What actually changes things is systems. That was the epiphany that I found in my own self and rebuilding my own life. After the van period, I stopped obsessing over forcing myself to push harder, to perform better, and started building real systems that stabilized my biology first: sleep systems, recovery systems, movement systems, and stress regulation system, as well as identity systems outside of work. And once those became stable, everything else improved naturally. And over time, my thinking became significantly clearer. My energy stopped fluctuating and, increasing and being forced up and crashing. And actually, for the first time, became very stable and sustainable. I noticed a level of calmness and emotional stability that I hadn't experienced in a long time. And I was actually able to go through a bad period of shifts, nights, weekends, whatever it was, and actually feel like my energy was maintaining rather than just gradually burning out until I needed that day off and needed to just crash. So eventually, I rebuilt myself as a high-performing doctor, as well as thriving outside of work and improving my health, executing marathons, Ironmans as well. And I actually had structure in my life rather than just chaos and being reactive. This is why I think so many doctors are misdiagnosing themselves. You do not necessarily hate medicine. You are not necessarily incapable of handling pressure. If you think that's the case, you might want to reconsider that. You may simply be operating inside a system that is extracting more from your biology and identity than you are rebuilding. And if that imbalance continues long enough, emptiness is often the result. So where do you start fixing it? First, you rebuild recovery intentionally rather than hoping it happens accidentally. Second, you create identity outside of medicine. Those hobbies that you used to enjoy, the identity that you used to be part of, get them back into your life. So you do this through movement, structure, hobbies, relationships, and personal standards that make you feel good and exist independently outside of work. Third, you reduce unnecessary stimulation because a constantly overstimulated nervous system loses its ability to feel calm, focused, and present. Fourth, you stop chasing intensity and start prioritizing rhythm, because sustainable performance is not built through occasional bursts of motivation. It is built through stable systems repeated consistently. This is what ultimately changes how you feel, not escaping ambition, but building a biology and lifestyle capable of supporting it. And if you are serious about making a change and implementing this straight away, you can click a link in the description where you can talk with me straight away and I can give you a personalized energy performance plan. So, hope that video was helpful and I will see you on the next one.